I'm Alex. I'm in charge of communications and community for Request Network. And in case you don't know what Request Network is or does, just quick rundown. We are building financial infrastructure for Web3 for the next iteration of the internet. We are keen on creating an ecosystem of financial products and services, which should unlock, hopefully, an inclusive and decentralized financial future where people can own their data and they can effortlessly automate and streamline financial services. Part of this ecosystem is now TalentLayer, clap, 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 who have
Woo!
received a grant from the Requester Foundation just last week. And congratulations for that, Kirsten. Congratulations to the entire TalentLayer team. We
Thank you.
met with Kirsten and part of the TalentLayer team back in 2023 at ETHBarcelona for the first time, where Mattia, one of the contributors to TalentLayer, has won one of our hackathon prizes there. And they have continued to surprise us throughout 2023 at various hackathons where we sponsored, constantly being in the top 3 projects that we gave prizes to. So we are more than happy to have you on board as an ecosystem partner, and we're eager to see what 2024 holds for our collaboration. Um, Now that I've made a little bit of introduction on who we are and how we met, can you tell us something a little bit of yourself, Kirsten, and what TalentLayer is? Like an Eli 5?
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much for the introduction, Alex. Hello, everyone. So I'm Kirsten, and I am one of the co-founders of TalentLayer. So a bit about me, I've been sort of building startups and also doing research in the blockchain space for the past 4, going on 5 years. So initially worked on blockchain governance research with the IEEE, leading a working group for 2 years, and then moved on to founding an NFT marketplace infrastructure startup, and then at the beginning of 2022, basically wanted to try to solve the problems that I thought were the biggest problems in my life. So this all was around hiring. So I had worked on a number of startups of my own, like prior to getting into the blockchain space, and hiring was always like the biggest issue that I
Mm-hmm.
ran into as someone um, trying to grow teams. Similarly, I was bootstrapping my startups while being a freelancer myself, so I was always looking for a bunch of opportunities using different freelance marketplaces, and it was always hard for me to find enough work for myself as well. So really what I saw in the hiring market was something very similar, like as far as a like sort of economic phenomena goes, something very similar to what happened in finance actually. So in the traditional finance world, you basically have a bunch of banks, right? And they all have liquidity for certain amounts of assets, and even things like stocks, etc. And you basically, as an individual, have to use one bank, and it's relatively complicated to move things around in between banks. Sometimes you make accounts on multiple financial institutions, et cetera, et cetera. And then one of the reasons why DeFi was so powerful in the financial sector was you basically break down all of the barriers between these institutions. You have, like, for example, with Uniswap, one lower level protocol where you have liquidity pooled, and you can have very, very many interfaces all touching that one protocol. And it's sort of like agnostic of what interface you're using, you still get to tap into the same backend. And really, all of this inspired sort of like, why can't you do this only for hiring? Because in specifically the like short-term hiring sector, so think about freelancing, rideshare, etc. You basically have all of this stuff happening on these siloed platforms. You have Upwork as a silo, you have freelancer.com as a silo, and rideshare, you have Uber as a silo, you have Lyft as a silo. And if you are, someone that is, say, a freelancer looking for work, oftentimes you have to make accounts on a bunch of these platforms in order to find enough work for you. Same for hirers, you have to post everywhere in order for your job to reach the right people. So really what TalentLayer started off as is just a low-level interoperability protocol that sits behind all sorts of hiring marketplaces to allow transactions between marketplaces and also things like universal reputation between marketplaces as well. So what TalentLayer is today is an API and an SDK that allows you to either build hiring marketplaces, freelance marketplaces, rideshare apps, etc., from scratch in a Web3 native way, or you can integrate existing marketplaces and just be able to get the benefits of sort of sharing liquidity with other marketplaces. So, for example, if you have too many Python jobs available and not enough workers that are seeking Python jobs on your platform, you can push the excess jobs to the protocol and have those fulfilled by users on other marketplaces, splitting the profits of that. So that's really what TalentLayer is. And we're really, really excited to partner with Request Network because one of the things that goes really hand in hand with work, and especially on-chain work, is derivatives of work. So if we think about what is like a derivative, a financial derivative of work in like Web2 world, this is something like employment insurance. Like if you get sick, you want to be able to have some sort of safety net for that. How it works in the traditional world is you go to an insurance company, and based on your work history, based on how much money you're earning, etc., they will give you a specific plan based on that. So you can replicate the exact same sort of thing, only in a completely permissionless way by looking at on-chain work history and then being able to leverage that in financial applications, which is really the whole point of becoming interoperable with Request Network and all of the financial applications built on them. And there's, of course, plenty of other really interesting financial derivatives of work. You can also do things like work-based lending, so getting like rates for lending that's based on your work history and ability to pay it back, stuff like that. But we can get more into that later.
Yeah, and we're working towards that as well, and to onboard more builders that can tackle that use case. But to circle back to what you said about TalentLayer, thank you for the in-depth explanation. And to reinforce the excitement feeling that you have about a collaboration, one of the things that you said reminded me of one of our key messages, which is to break the walled gardens and the silo effect of an opaque financial system. So I'm glad you're on board and that you have the same key messages. And we need to talk about marketing more in depth soon. Too many common key messages here that we have to work upon and deliver to the world. So to explain TalentLayer to a grandmother, which is, when you're at a conference or somewhere and somebody's like, okay, so this is the grandmother explanation. How would you explain TalentLayer in like just a few words for a grandma or somebody who's non-technical?
Yeah, so usually, well, for the 5-year-old explanation, at least, what we like to try to say is something like, if you're in a city and your city has a lot of bakers, right?
Right.
There's not going to be enough people to eat all of the bread that the bakers are making in the city. So it's good if you can figure out ways to get some of that bread to another city that doesn't have as many bakers. And that is really what TalentLayer is trying to do. Sort of being this network to carry around the resources where there's too many of one specific type of resource in one place to get them over to another place where they can actually be valuable.
All right, that's a good example. And you can replace Baker with so many other professions and even like you mentioned, ride sharing. Do you imagine TalentLayer
Yeah,
becoming sort of like a more like a gig economy platform? Because
yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. And you basically started this from personal experience, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, so personally, like I have used so many short-term work platforms on both sides of the market. And also one of my prior startups was actually a hiring marketplace. So this was
Hmm.
when I was just working on Web2 stuff. Um, but just bit about my experiences. So when I was freelancing, I was using like 5 marketplaces at once because it would always be a situation where I'm looking for like PHP developer jobs, right? And I search the keyword and I look and I look and I look and I apply to a lot of them, but then I get to the end of the search results. And then it's like, okay, well, there's nothing left here for me. I guess I have to go to another one. And then, the same things happens on the other one, and then you go to another one. And then you eventually loop back um and it is just like a really, really big hassle. And one of the big issues that happens when you have to basically use all of these marketplaces is you fragment your reputation. So if I have like 5 successful jobs completed on one marketplace, 10 on another marketplace, 2 on another marketplace, no hirer really has full transparency over what my actual work
Right.
history is because it's all just trapped in these silos. And this is one of the really big things that just increases transparency and just generally makes hiring better. If you have interoperable reputation, then you're able to basically look at 100% of the data points for someone's work history, as opposed to just being able to view a small percentage of that. Um, so yeah, I was using all these marketplaces, fragmenting my reputation, and eventually, I actually ended up deciding that freelancing was a little bit too hard for me to manage. So basically, imagine me. I'm working on a Web2 startup at the time. I'm also being a freelance developer, and just like searching for so long for these opportunities was just like taking so much mental energy for me that I was like, maybe instead of searching for freelance opportunities, I could just try other gig work. So what I did was I went on like the food delivery
Yep.
apps, and I actually started delivering food because that was something where it was a little bit easier for me to be able to find new work because you basically have really high like frequency of work available, and they're very small pieces of work. So even when you don't have like that much work available on a specific application, like anyone can do the work, so it can be a little bit more accessible. So I did that for a little while as well to make some extra money while bootstrapping my Web2 startups, and basically like using all of these applications from the worker side just made me realize all of the
So
issues
what
with
you're saying
them
is that it
because
wasn't just a single personal experience, it was a diverse set of personal experiences that made you think about talent layer.
very very, very. I mean, really, like how I see TalentLayer is sort of the culmination of all of my negative experiences I've ever had with like trying to get hired, trying to make money, and also trying to hire people. Because, like I said as well, like I also hired a lot of people on freelance marketplaces. I mean, I use like obviously everyone uses Uber, everyone uses
Yeah.
food delivery. But yeah, I mean, I also hired a bunch of freelancers on these marketplaces, and like the lack of transparency of reviews and stuff like that, and having to sometimes like trust like a resume as opposed to trusting someone's work history that's proven to be on a platform, that also causes more issues. So just having like the most amount of data available is so powerful when it comes to work reputation. And then additionally, so the talent layer in general is sort of a three-sided ecosystem. You have hirers, you have workers, but you also have the platform builders, and that's like a completely different, mindset of the entrepreneurs that are building those. So one of my startups that I had before I got into Web3 was a two-sided marketplace for hiring influencer marketers. So imagine like, you're a company that makes candles and you want to hire some Instagram influencers to market your candles. Well, you could have gone to our marketplace and done that, this, prior startup of mine. And one of the biggest issues that I had when I was building that startup was it was like really hard to have the right number of people hiring influencers and influencers available at the right time in the right sort of match profile. And what that was is it's the chicken and egg problem. So this is a concept in bootstrapping marketplace startups where you don't have enough of one side of the market. Like you have too much of one side, not enough of the other side. And this is the number one reason why marketplace startups fail. And it actually ended up being the reason why that prior startup of mine failed, because we couldn't really solve that chicken and egg problem. And what TalentLayer does for the marketplaces is it's like if you have too many influencers, for example, going back to if I was still at my prior startup, if I had too many influencers, but not enough people seeking influencers, then what I can do is I can just pull in influencer marketing opportunities, so more people seeking influencers from other marketplaces that do not have enough influencers, but have too many opportunities for influencers. And then what happens is both marketplaces are able to fill like fill a need that wasn't previously being able to be filled. And that means they're able to, one, not have their users leave the app, because if a user does not get their need filled, then they're going to leave your application and they're going to go use some other competitor. And also, it allows them to still make money on that deal, because even though they're pulling in half of the deal from another marketplace, that means that the two marketplaces are actually splitting fees. So they're both earning, even though they're earning a little bit less than they would if they had fulfilled 100% of the deal on their marketplace, they're still earning. So that's like really, really powerful for marketplaces as well.
Thank you for the insights, Kirsten. You mentioned reputation quite a few times, and from what I understand and from what I know, there's no unified solution. There's no reputation layer
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
that multiple projects can use on various chains. We are working towards it. We've met lots of projects last year at various events, online, offline, who mentioned that they want to build reputation one way or another. And I'm eager to know what is the current like integration status with Request Network for TalentLayer. What stage are you at, and who are the members from TalentLayer working on this?
Yeah. So you touched on two things. So like the stage of the integration, what exactly are we doing with that? And then also more broadly how like reputation works. So first I'll speak a little bit on reputation generally. So if we look at our lives in general and what makes up our reputation, these are extremely diverse data points that are not all tied together in the world that we live. Like, for example, our educational history is a part of our reputation, but that's not really applicable or interrelated to maybe whether or not we have completed deliveries on Uber or on Uber Eats or something
Correct.
like that.
If I
Like,
were to narrow it down, I would say reputation that, let's say financial reputation or the work reputation that also ties in financially. So quantifiable
yeah,
reputation.
yeah. Yeah. So what I was getting at is like reputation is not something where you can ever have like one universal layer for it. It's something that is inherently piecemeal, that is contextual. So when it comes to work reputation and financial reputation, these two things are things that basically can be coming from any diverse amount of data sources. So one way to access financial reputation of a user is to, for example, look at their history of transactions on platforms integrated with Request Network, because you have a lot of really rich data available, because you guys are taking the data and formatting it in a standard way so that other applications can easily read from it. So this is a form of financial reputation. But you could also look at things like how many transactions on Uniswap has this person done? Or you can look at traditional financial things like what is this person's credit score, or how long have they had this bank account or that bank account? So there's virtually an infinite amount of reputation data available. Within TalentLayer's ecosystem, we do not have the whole spectrum of work reputation available, because it's basically impossible to even define that. It's infinite,
Yeah.
really. But what we do have is something very specific, and that is, has someone done a piece of work. So this is like basically scope of work, whether or not the work has been completed, and then a review and some different financial elements with that. So this leads me into how do we integrate a request network? So basically, the TalentLayer's integration with request network and the whole ecosystem is taking all of our data and making it so that it is completely interoperable, completely accessible by any platform that is integrated with Request and that is leveraging Request's data models. So what this means is if you're building, for example, a lending application or a reputation algorithm or anything like that in Request Network's ecosystem, you can easily access any of the data within TalentLayer. So this is like review information that people have received from hirers. This is total amount of earnings over specific time periods. This is the type of work that's been done, whether it's development work or graphic design work, etc. And you can take all of this and basically use it for whatever purposes you want in your own application, thanks to this integration that we're doing with Request Network. So as far as the basically the status of this and the timeline, we have just started engineering on this integration, and we're still looking like a few months out for it to be completely done. So if you are someone that wants to build using this very rich data that we're going to be adding to the Request Network ecosystem, please just let me know. And what we could do is we could try to give you like early access to some of the information, data models, etc. Because we're really excited to see builders start utilizing this data in new and novel ways. And yes, that's currently the status, and really looking forward to getting this out there.
Same. I'm pretty confident that we have a few call to actions. Once the integration is done, we'll blast it everywhere and we'll see what kind of feedback we get, and hopefully some builders will want to take advantage of all the data. What about the people behind the integration? Like who's working on TalentLayer right now?
Yes. So specifically with this integration, we have Yash, who is heading up the integration. So in the request community, y'all know Yash because Yash has also won like 1 million bounties from request. He's at literally all of the hackathons, even more than me, which is hard to beat. So yeah, Yash is really taking most of the lead on this integration. Of course, we also have our CTO Wama, who's my co-founder, and he is also, assisting with the integration. Generally, how we operate is me and Wama, we do a lot of like the architecture stuff, make sure everything aligns with TalentLayer's vision as a network and our engineering roadmaps and all of that. And then we have our individual contributors that take up some of the implementation work, and then Wama does code review, making sure everything's finalized properly, etc.
In case people have missed that, Kirsten is also a big fan of open sourcing mostly everything, right?
Oh,
yes.
hell yeah.
And like aside from the integration of request network, if I was just a regular Joe listening to this or just passing by on X, and seeing TalentLayer, do I have to sign up? Is it free to use without any account? Do I need a wallet? And what kind of features do I have access to right now on the platform?
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing to note is TalentLayer is an infrastructure. It's not really a platform. So we're more like developer tools that you can use to build hiring applications. So if you are a developer that's looking to build something like a Web3 ride share, like blockchain-based freelance marketplace, things like that, or even just add features like escrow to your application, what you can do is you can just visit our documentation. We are completely permissionless, so you can get started and build really, now. You can do pretty much whatever you want there. When it comes to launching on mainnet, I mean, we're super happy to support. It's just a matter of, chatting with us, like sending me a DM on Discord or on Twitter, and we can help you out with what you need. We try to be pretty active with support for teams building in our ecosystem. When it comes to like hirers and workers, what I can recommend for you is actually using some of the platforms that are currently live, built by entrepreneurs using TalentLayer. So a couple of good ones are WorkX. So WorkX was the first platform to launch NS. And what they are is they are a freelance marketplace, mostly targeting Web3 oriented jobs. So they also have full-time jobs available, which you can check out if you're interested in more full-time opportunities. But yeah, basically that's a good place to start if you're looking to post a job or if you're looking for freelance opportunities. Then we also have Builder Place. So Builder Place is more so aimed to the open source community. So any organization that wants to host a open source bounty board can actually go to builder.place and in a few minutes spin up a white label bounty board that's hosted on a custom domain with custom branding and everything. And you can basically post any bounties that you have available in your ecosystem there. And then what happens is because that board is connected with TalentLayer, those opportunities you post are distributed across any integrated platform in the TalentLayer ecosystem. So that's across a number of freelance marketplaces, hiring applications, etc., so that you get more reach for the bounties that you post, not just within your ecosystem, but in the broader community. So that's a good one. And also, if you're someone that wants to contribute open source work and win bounties, you could also go to builder.place. This is just the main website for that. And you could see some of the teams that have live Builder Place hosted platforms and check out some of the bounties they've posted. And then finally, we also have a really cool platform that just launched last week called Freelance Search. So Freelance Search is actually a ChatGPT plugin that you can use to access over a million freelance opportunities. So this is a good segue into this new thing that we launched. Do we want to talk about that next,
Absolutely.
Alex?
I was gonna make a connection to that, but you jumped the gun there, and I'm happy that you did because I think it's perhaps the thing that TalentLayer built so far that could potentially have the biggest reach. Like the demo, the short video demo that you posted a couple of days ago, and we reposted everywhere. I found that very impressive, and I've showed it to a couple of friends who are looking for jobs, not necessarily jobs, but maybe gigs. And it's very interesting and surprising how easy it has become to find the contract of your dreams, let's call it, and how easy it is to write cover letters nowadays without spending days to research and what word should I use here? Should I use a synonym for that? And maybe even look at the recruiter, what kind of language do we appreciate? Should I post a meme or whatnot? So giving ChatGPT the power to do all this, I find it super, super interesting, and I would love to hear more.
Yeah. So a little bit of backstory. So ChatGPT, of course, this has been out for a while. I'm sure that everyone here knows about ChatGPT. But one really important thing that happened a few weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago to be exact, was ChatGPT launched a marketplace for GPTs. So what this means is developers can basically build plugins where you can take your data sources, your functionality, etc., and wrap it in ChatGPT's interface. So one of our developers came to us first week of January, and he was like, hey, the ChatGPT store is going live in a week. Why don't we just, make TalentLayer's data accessible via ChatGPT? So we were like, wow, that sounds awesome. Yeah, let's try to ship that super fast. And another thing, so TalentLayer as a team has recently been working on this sort of aggregation infrastructure, this aggregation API. So currently the data sources for TalentLayer at the protocol level is just like jobs that have been written directly to the protocol by any integrated hiring platform. So this means there are, there's been like 100 or so jobs posted into the protocol, but that's not that many, right? So we wanted to find a way, how do we get more job opportunities accessible to the platforms that are building on us? And we decided to actually build some tools where you can get jobs from major freelance marketplaces like freelancer.com, Upwork, etc. So we had like just wrapped that up from an engineering standpoint. And we were like, okay, why don't we actually put that in the GPT app too? So in the end, we were able to, in a little bit over a week, we launched this one day after the ChatGPT store went live. We were able to ship a freelance search plugin where you can search 1 million plus opportunities that are pulled in from TalentLayer marketplaces, from freelancer.com, from Upwork, etc. And this is really, really huge because with ChatGPT, it's not just like, keyword search. It also has some intelligence behind it, right? So what you can do today using freelance search is you can actually give it your resume, you can give it your LinkedIn profile, you can give it your Upwork profile, and you can ask it, hey, based on the kind of stuff I've done in the past, what do you think would be a good opportunity for me to apply to? And then what it'll do is it'll read everything and it'll look at your keywords, it'll look at your level of experience, etc. And then it will use that to search for you across these different freelance marketplaces, and then it'll bring you the opportunities that it thinks is the best fit for you. So we're super, super excited about this. It's still something brand new, right? We are actively shipping improvements every day to try to make this thing really, really good from a user experience standpoint. But yeah, so far it has been really, really powerful. So we're just excited to get some more feedback on it. If anyone has any sort of thoughts on how we can make it better, like definitely check it out. All you have to do is just go to either the TalentLayer Twitter page, and we have it as a linked tweet that you can click through and access the application, or you can just search for it on the GPT store. Just search for freelance, and we're the first result there.
Thank you. I haven't tested it myself yet. I'm just curious if it's possible to wrap it and anything else other than the ChatGPT interface.
Absolutely, it is. So, a few things that we were thinking about. So I don't know if you've been paying much attention to what's been happening in the Telegram ecosystem recently with like the TON
Yeah,
blockchain
yeah. Some
and
airdrops, some meme
all,
coins
yeah.
going on there. There's some activity and people hyping it up as the next big thing.
Yeah, so there's a lot of activity happening there, but if you actually like dive into what applications you can build natively on Telegram, it's very, very extensive. Like you have access to so many amazing SDKs, so many great tools. So one thing that we were considering is maybe wrapping the GPT app that we built in a Telegram layer so that you can actually interact with the entire workflow just from Telegram. So that would also be pretty cool. I'm considering, we all use Telegram. But yeah, in general, what you can do is you can actually access the APIs that we're calling the data from right now and build on that if you wanted to, like any sort of additional wrapper application. And like medium term, we are also thinking about like publicly opening access to the GPT of freelance search, like that API, so that you can actually like in your third-party applications have the intelligence of GPT combined with the data access from the APIs as well. There's so much stuff
Yeah,
you
I
can
could
do.
probably just set up a bot and use it on Telegram to job search for you and write recommendations and such, right?
Yeah, you absolutely could do that.
Nice. I'm eager to see what the future holds for this. But other than the freelance search, which is obviously super awesome, what else do you have planned for 2024? Obviously, anything that you can share.
Ooh, let's see. So I'll give you some real alpha. So this is something
Ooh.
that we have not talked about publicly, but is coming in the next few weeks, actually. So
All right.
one thing, so TalentLayer's ecosystem, so far we've had like 12,000 people like register accounts and like interact with the protocol to some extent. But what we don't have is we don't have like that much information on these individuals. So when it comes to them appearing in search results, like for example, if a hirer is searching for Python developers, or JavaScript developers or graphic designers, most people haven't filled out their profile a lot with a lot of good, rich keywords. So that means they're unfortunately not really appearing in search results like they could be. So what we want to do is we're actually going to be doing some incentives for people to fill out more comprehensive profile information so that they can appear in search results when hirers are looking for them. And this is something that's really, really important for us reaching our next stage of growth, which is really, we want to start to have really good network effects at the protocol level. So this is having, a lot of workers, a lot of hirers interacting with each other and fulfilling work on a regular basis. So like as of right now, we have, a number of jobs that are completed every month, but we want to get that up to like hundreds of jobs completed every month. And in order to have that, we need to basically get more job opportunities posted, and we also need more information available on the workers that are available, so that the search can actually work effectively when hirers are seeking workers. So this is something that's very exciting for us. Are in the process of just sort of defining all of these incentives and then baking it into some of the platforms that are live today as well. But that's going to be really exciting over the next coming weeks. So if you want to figure out how you can qualify for some of these incentives, just go to TalentLayer's Twitter, give us a follow, set notifications, and you'll be first to hear about what we
I was
have going
going
on.
to ask if there's anything that you would like to, call to action, some socials to plug at the end of the space, but you somehow predicted that. I feel like this entire call has been sort of, the meme with Spider-Man pointing towards Spider-Man. Yeah, something like that. We're also
Like you
looking
think
like our
I'm
key
like,
messages are aligned. We're looking to have as many network effects as
yeah,
possible. Want to break down walls, break down silos. I love that. Anything else that you
yeah.
want
I
to
mean,
add,
like,
Kirsten? Sure, go ahead.
yeah, I just wanted to say, like, this is why we vibe,
Yep.
right? Like, we're building towards the same vision. It's been this since we had our first conversation, like middle of last year, if you
Yep, yep.
remember that. Just like, instantly know that we're aligned on everything. And that's why we're so excited to work together. Like, we're both building towards the same vision, but in
Yeah.
different ways. And that's the important thing. If we're both doing the same thing, wouldn't be nearly as powerful.
Eerily similar but different.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we're fulfilling the same long-term vision, which is sovereign individuals interacting with sovereign protocols, open infrastructure, permissionless, etc. More equitable environment for living your life and all of that. But in order to have that be a reality, we need so many different pieces. We need the financial piece, we need the hiring piece, we also need pieces like social, we need legal, we need governance. And this is really the magic of the blockchain space in general, because everyone can focus on one specific thing, and then we can become interoperable with the other things. And this is really, Vitalik's vision for the composable internet. Everything is just Legos that can be plugged together and built upon. And that's really what we're
Yeah,
doing here.
just
So
want to add that
it's really exciting.
interoperability is still something that there's a lot of work to be put in there. A lot of work to make everything work with everything, right? And
Mhm.
hopefully this year we'll have some of the builders in the request network ecosystem will already function as an ecosystem, not just by name but also by sharing data. And let's see who's going to be the
Mhm.
first one. And other than that,
Yeah.
I hope everybody had a good time. And the space will be uploaded to YouTube with our new branding, with the new request network branding and everything else. So you can, if you've missed anything, you can rewind it and listen to it whenever you want. And thank you, Kirsten. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, David. I see you there. Thank you, Pavel. Thank you, Natalia. Thank you, Pranav, and thank you, Marco. Thank you for joining and listening. If there's anything else, you can DM us on Twitter. You can join our Discord. You can DM Kirsten, I guess, on Twitter and so many socials. And yeah, thank you again for joining us. Have a nice evening or morning. Bye.
Yep. Thanks, Alex. See you
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.